What's that? What's a record? Is that thing that I use as decorations on my wall?
Allison has those. She's gonna put up. I was like, fabulous.
Oh,
But now they're expensive, so I'm not gonna buy the
because
like
now they're
vintage. Like
antique. They're vintage.
I know everything vintage is funny. So
Just like you.
well played. I'm not gonna introduce myself as old. I'm just vintage.
Vintage. Age
Fabulous.
like nice scotch.
Well, I am Scottish.
Well, there you go.
I
It
just wear
fits.
my kilt and be like, I'm aged. Actually, that's funny. That'd be funny to go to a Halloween party and be like, I'm aged Scotch. That's pretty fantastic.
There you go. Your Halloween costume for this year's planned. You're welcome.
Celebrating 30 years sober as a aged Scotch might not really be good. Like some people don't find that humor. I do. It's ironic.
I think that that's exactly why you should do it.
I know.
What better way to celebrate 30 years sober, which congrats again.
Thank you. It was funny because at one point I used to, when I would get ice creams after we'd go to AA meetings, I'd be like, ha, I'm double fisted. Nobody thought it was funny.
But that is hilarious because if
It's
you
funny.
can't, I feel like if you can't joke about those type of things, then you're maybe not healed. You like,
Oh,
I think
correct.
at least me, like I know I'm healed when I can joke about my trauma. If I can turn it into a joke and like a lesson and like, just like laugh at myself and be like, huh, I did that. It I
Well,
know
it
that. I
takes
know
away
that I'm better,
yeah, it takes away a lot of the power.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. Well, I wanted to. It is February. What day is this? Friday,
19.
February 19th.
Mhm.
It's almost March. That's nuts. So, yeah, basically, I wanted to kind of continue our conversation, recorded version, about just your journey from school to then athletics and like what that meant to you and whatever you want to speak about from there.
All right. Well, I was not always athletic. I still laugh when you call me like one of your athletes. I remember posting my like meet video and tagging Rob in it and saying like I'm proud to be your athlete. And then I was like, am I his athlete? Like, am I an athlete? Really? It's like, yeah, I am now. You know what? It's fine. I am. I might not be the most athletic athlete, but I'm an athlete. I definitely was not always that way. I tried every sport as a kid, and I don't think any of them lasted more than like a month or two at most. Like every sport, soccer, football. I was the only girl in like an all boys football thing. I was a big girl. So I don't know what position it was, but I was the one that was supposed to like knock people over, and I knocked all the boys over. Um, the one thing I never tried was gymnastics, which I wish I tried because it would have helped me like in CrossFit and even in powerlifting now. But yeah, never really stuck with sports. And was I think like the biggest thing is like from an early age, like never really was taught like proper eating habits or proper like body image just isn't something that like we really talked about in my family. I know I'm sure a lot of families don't, but I think it's so important with young girls and like we were talking about earlier, like middle school time. Um, it's so important. Proper eating habits and proper like body image conversations. And my family just wasn't one that had that. And I had like a group of girls I was friends with since I was young, just like this little Russian community. And I was always like the big one. I was always the heavier set, the big bone. My mom really always loved to call me stocky. And I was like, Mom, I don't think that that's like a good thing. I'm not saying it in a bad way, honey. You're a stocky girl. And I'm like, I still don't think that that's a good thing, but yes, I am. But like, I don't like the way that sounds. So yeah, around 15 or 16, I'm short. I'm 5 feet tall now. So I was even shorter then. I'm 5 feet tall when I have nice posture, but not even always. And I was like 160, 165 if I had a good dinner. And just, I was not healthy. Like I lived a very sedentary life. I didn't watch what I ate. I didn't know anything about like, I didn't view food as fuel. One thing I'll say is I'm not like a stress eater. I actually have learned as I've gotten older is like when I'm stressed, I don't eat. So now I'm like kind of battling with it like the opposite way, like as you know, finals and school and work and life, you know, things get stressful. I'm like, oh wait, I haven't ate like anything and it's like 3 o'clock. I should probably do that. Um, so then around like 15 or 16 years old, a family friend of mine, she had like gotten into fitness and had posted something about like she got what is it called, like NASM certified. And she's like, hey, I got this certification, like just want to like try out training people. I'll do it for free. Like I just want to write a program for someone and like have them do it. And I was like, oh, me, I want to do it. So I got a membership at Fitness 19 and was just doing like a lot of cardio, some like body weight movements, but you know, I had really no idea what I was doing. But that really is like where it kind of started, where I got a little more disciplined and was like, I'm going to go to the gym and get healthy and work out. And then, but I will say that he also put me on a 1200 calorie a day diet. And that's when, you know, the story, I went from that 160, 165 down to 115. And we talk about this all the time. I cannot stand that that is when I was complimented the most. And like that is the issue with like diet culture is like I could not stand that. Like that is when I look back on those posts now and they pop up in my memories and I'm like, no one comments on my post now saying like, oh, I mean, you do, but no one else comments like, oh, you look great. It's that post when I was skinny, when I had like no legs and no arms and just was like starving. But everyone thought that was like an amazing thing. I remember I have an aunt, she's a nurse, or no, she's just something in the medical. I think she's a nurse. Okay. She was the only one, she had commented like, most important thing is to be healthy, like looking good, but make sure you're healthy. And I'm like, now looking back on that, I'm like, she probably knew that I wasn't doing this in the most healthy way. And I mean, I'm really lucky that I never like struggled with it to the sense of where like, you know, it never got to like a diagnosed like eating disorder, but like also being a 16, 17-year-old girl eating 1200 calories a day, like could be borderline anorexia at some point, like definitely could have developed into that.
And how many hours were you working out a week at that point?
Every day, at least 2 hours. I didn't know what a rest day was. I never took a day off. And I was so rigid
and
about
it. To be fair, did your coach know that you did not take a day off?
Oh yeah, I was working out with him every day. Okay. Yeah, every single day. And like freaking out if I missed a workout, thinking like it was the end of the world. I mean, it took a toll, like to the point where like I wasn't comfortable like going out to eat with my family because I couldn't track that meal. I couldn't count those calories because I didn't know what kind of oil they cooked it on. And I didn't know, I couldn't weigh that chicken that I ordered. And I couldn't, like, I remember one year I didn't eat my birthday cake. Like it was my birthday, my family got me a cake and I didn't eat it. Like I wouldn't eat a slice of my own birthday cake. And it's like, looking back on that, it's like, what the hell? Like that's not normal. I'm all for like not eating cake every day. I don't think someone should do that. But like, it's your damn birthday. It's cake. Like you made another trip around the sun. You deserve a piece. It's just crazy. Like I didn't even think about that until like just saying it now. And like I just look back on this and I want to like go back and like shake that girl and be like, eat the burger, eat the cake, you'll be okay. But it really wasn't until I sat down with Caitlin and had a conversation with her where she basically, I wanted to be as strong as her. And she was like, yeah, you need to eat if you want to do that. Like her and I would sit together at lunch and talk about like what we were going to do at the gym later that day after we leave school. And like, I would look at her lunch and I'm like, how is she eating so much and still like staying fit? Like I'm eating like a cucumber and she's eating like this whole like bowl of rice and chicken. And I'm like, I just didn't understand it. She's like, she was maybe one of the first people that told me like food is fuel and like you need to eat. So then came to CFN and it totally like reshaped my thinking. I still was in that place where I was like freaked out about missing workouts and kind of like very rigorous about it or rigid about it. But definitely I think like starting to get into a healthier mindset. There was a lot of women there. There was not a lot of women at that kettlebell training place, and I was the youngest one there. It was nice to come to CFN and have other athletes there my age going through some of the same things I'm going through, figuring out their bodies, going through those body changes. I mean, Sophie was 12 when I met her, 11 maybe. And I'm like, I want to be like her when I get young. But yeah, it was nice to be around like people my age like that. When I left CFN and went to a different CrossFit gym, that is where someone, I don't, do you know TK?
Yeah.
So I love him. He's such an awesome person, so smart. And he was a coach there for a little bit at the second CrossFit gym I went to. And he's told me gains happen in recovery. Because I was complaining about like, I've been doing this for so long and I just feel like I'm not like, I don't look like I work out and all this. And he's like, well, how many rest days are you taking a week? And I said, none. What do you mean? And he's like, and he's a big dude and he's strong. And he's like, I work out 3 days a week. And I was like, how? How do you work out 3 days a week and look like that? And he's like,
I am gonna hashtag him, and because that dude is a beautiful man.
he like in so many ways.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he's just a wonderful human.
But his consistency, like you just look at his body and you're like, well, that doesn't just happen. It does.
No, he's like he's very. I think it's hilarious. I had this conversation with him once. I'm like, I have seen this man put away like a box of donuts, like an entire box of donuts. But I'm like, I also know that for the rest of the week, like you are going to be so strict about what you're eating, not because he ate the donuts, because he has that consistency 99% of the time that he can allow himself to once in a blue moon eat an entire box of donuts and he's still okay. And he's still got his 6-pack of abs, maybe 12-pack. I don't know what he's
yeah, he's more of a case of abs.
But he's the one, he told me gains are made in recovery. And I was like, okay, so there's more to this than I'm understanding. There's more to it. And I think that's where it really like started to shape my thinking, where I was like, okay, well, let me take a rest day and let me do some active recovery and let me make sure I'm getting enough food and getting enough sleep and all of that. And I think like a huge thing with tracking calories is eventually you need to get to the point where like I roughly know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. I don't weigh my food anymore. I will know based on A, like how I feel, and B, just looking at my plate, like if I have enough protein, carbs, and fat. I don't track anymore. I don't, maybe if I like am trying to gain a few pounds or lose a few pounds, just kind of like maybe make a weight class or whatever, I'll track for a few days just to kind of make sure that I'm accurate in my estimations. But once you do it for long enough, you can kind of like, I got to the point where I could take a breath of like, just take a breath and be like, fine. Like I go to this restaurant, like I know that that's 4 ounces of chicken, or that 8-ounce filet, maybe it's 6, but whatever. They're just trying to charge me extra by calling it 8. But like you kind of start to learn. And then I don't know, I think after that, like my mindset for it got a lot better. I still was maybe a little like more rigid than I needed to be about some things. I remember a friend telling me when I was like worried about missing a workout, like, no one's paying you to deadlift. Like no one's paying you to do this. Like if you need to miss it today, make it up, whatever, like let it go. And I got into like a much healthier mindset of it. It's not like that 100% of the time. Especially like we talked about, like I always called myself a non-competitive person, and I feel like I'm a little bit more competitive now. So when like I'm preparing for a competition, I might be a little bit less like in a healthy headspace about it, because I'm like, I have a goal in mind. But at the end of the day, like I look at it more as like a way to stay healthy and a hobby now more than anything. And at the end of the day,
yeah, and I think it's within a strict. Yes, it's maybe more strict, but I like watching you get ready for meets. It wasn't you. You were maybe a little bit more judgy, like self-judgmental.
yeah.
But it wasn't all encompassing. It wasn't like, okay, well, I didn't feel like you did well. Like you didn't feel like you did well in that training session. The next session, you're gonna be like, okay, well, let's try to figure out how to do better. And it wasn't like, well, I'm gonna try to make it up, or I'm going to try, because you were like, well, it's kind of gone.
Yeah.
It's not useless. It's not wasted. It's just not what I wanted.
Yeah. And I think that like kind of doing a full 180 like that, coming to a healthy mindset with it is like, that's why I want to do more things like that girls event that Caitlin and I did. And my current gym owner, he started before COVID, he started a like anti-bullying club at his gym. It was so
Awesome.
awesome. So he basically had a bunch of like middle school aged kids, boys and girls coming. And so my gym right now, it's a powerlifting strongman gym. And he was basically, it was so cool because you'd have these like little kids like doing like, I don't know, like sled drag, tire flips, and they're so impressed with themselves. And like instilling that into a child at like a young age, at an age where they're very impressionable, where societal pressures are hard, where peer pressure is at an all-time high, and when like the need to fit in and feel accepted and all that is so hard, like having a purpose, having a hobby, like it's so important. And I feel like a hobby like strength training and just doing something that's like good for your body is like so good for your mental health too. So I want to do more stuff like that anti-bullying club, do more things where like someone like me and Caitlin can sit and talk to these young girls and just tell them like, you will get through this, you will be okay, like appreciate your body for all it can and will and has done for you. Because I don't know, I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't know why it's not, but it's just not. It's I don't know if it's like because it's people don't like having uncomfortable conversations.
That's it's going against status quo, and that's not everybody's jam. But when people feel like something's wrong, but they don't know really what it is, it's because it's whatever's happening is not in alignment with what they believe.
Yeah. I remember I saw a post. I see it come up on Facebook all the time. And it's funny, so many people share it, but I hope more people don't just share it, but practice it. But it was a post that basically said how to talk to your daughter about her body. Step one, don't. Talk to her about her mind. Talk to her about her, like, just all these other things. There's no need for when your daughter comes out of the room for the first thing you say to her to be something about her body. You're like, your hair, you look so healthy today. Not you look, oh, you look like you lost some weight, or you look like you put on a, you are glowing. You look happy. You look healthy. Obviously, that's not like always going to work. Like you're going to want to you're going to have conversations about your body. But step one was like, just don't talk to her about some other feature that she has, something else that she offers to the world besides her body. Then like step two was like, you know, have different conversations about food, not like this food is bad or this food is good. It's like, well, this food's going to be really good for you in this, but if you're feeling like really tired and kind of like lethargic, like have that chocolate bar because that's going to help you wake up. And then for dinner, we're going to have some extra veggies tonight. You know, it's okay, have that chocolate bar right now. Then we're gonna have some extra vegetables for dinner to like help keep that energy up. You know, it's like there's just different ways to go about it, different ways to talk about it. And it's not, I think that like women who are at the age where like they're having children now, they weren't talked to about it. And it just like it's continuing where if no one talks to you about it as a kid, why would you talk to your kids about it? You know, no one talked to my mom about it. So why would she tell me? Why would she know how to teach me any better about how to appreciate my body, how to view food as fuel or anything like that? So like at some point, like that narrative, it has to change. Like some generation needs to be the one that's like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to learn about it. And then we're going to teach our kids about it. So it continues. And it's just, it's not happening enough right now. And it needs to.
Well, and I think that's a big reason why I got excited about working with the Pit Teen Throwdown and all teens, and some of the stuff we're doing over there. It's you know uh, focusing on a lot of not just yes the teen athletes that go to the CrossFit Games or whatever like that, and the high level competitors, but it's also you know bringing in the girls softball teams like I used to bring in, and
Yeah, I
bringing
remember
in
that.
and having specific, not boundaries, but kind of like people, you could talk about how you felt internally. I mean, really, if you needed to talk about how you felt, you talk about how you felt. But it was encouragement. It wasn't, if you're not going to say something nice, don't say anything. It was, say something nice.
Yeah,
And if that's your challenge, was to come up with something nice, do it. And I like that because having two kids and them growing up seeing me play soccer, and even vintage as I am, working out, and the fact I can still do some pretty cool things. Like, I didn't do gymnastics as a kid, and I can still do bar muscle ups. But every time I get freaked out, so I do at least one a week because I get freaked out like I'm gonna lose them. But it's that I love that conversation. Like, uh, with Allison, I love just talking to her about, man, your arms look good today. Like,
yeah,
so I've said that because I'm like, those muscles are awesome. You know, Part of one of the conversations I had is, uh, she wanted to do something. She was like, wow, that was hard for me to do. And, Don and I both said, well, partially it's because you haven't been working out as much. Like, when you want to do whatever you want to do, you have to prepare that way. Like, if you
yeah.
want to be able to go up and down the sledding hill, which is what obviously in Michigan we've been doing, 400 times in 3 hours or whatever it is, there's certain things you have to do, and like, and part of it too is I understand, like, her recently, her appetite's just not really there. So but when it is, she eats. So it's, and but we just make sure she's eating well, and we have that conversation, and because I'm aware that I struggled with body dysmorphia, still do, like, being 5'5" and an adult male, like, that's not always the go-to. Um, so I'm aware a little bit, but it's still, men have it way easier. I'm aware. Really, we do. Because
Yeah.
society, for the most part, I mean, society will poke fun, but it's also kind of like, yeah, but still. Whereas, like you said, I couldn't even imagine some of the conversations girls have about girls, and then it's like, dude, there's enough in life, trying to get you down, than to be competitive with each other. And
And we're so often like our own harshest critic. Like you know that that's me, but then like to have other people like around you doing that, like I remember asking a friend, like, we were hanging out at her house, we were young, and I like asked, like, can I wear your shirt? Can I borrow the shirt? She was told me, you're gonna stretch it out. And I'm like, I just think back on that and I'm like how damaging to, I already know that I'm bigger than you. I already know that that shirt's going to be snug on me. But for you to literally not want me to borrow your clothes because I'm going to stretch it out, like, we're already so hard on ourselves. And then to have like other voices, and even sometimes like from people close to us, like friends and family, it's just, it is hard. And it does happen more to girls. It is what it is. It definitely can happen to a boy too. And probably in a different way. It's like the boys, like, what about like the really skinny boys in high school? Like they had it hard as much as the bigger, heavier set girls did, because the boys wanted to be bigger and muscular, and for some guys that was harder, and they're just, the skinny smaller boys. And like, body dysmorphia comes in so many different forms to people. But yeah, I don't think it's isolated to girls, but girls definitely have it worse.
correct. And I have to have conversations with Jake, because coming from, at one point he thought he was a little chunky, but then he grew 6 inches in a year, and you're like, dude, I barely grew 6 inches in my lifetime. So you know what? Your body knew what was coming. Like, it's okay. And one of the things I like about working out with him is we do a lot of compound movements, but then we do a lot of just fun stuff. But it's also very much, well, part of what we're doing is consistently, we don't even need to push super heavy weights sometimes, but it's going to get stronger. Like the consistency will make you stronger. And, you know, he'll come down and be like, hey, we work it out or what? And I'm just like, oh my goodness, yes, please.
Please. My favorite thing is trying to get my best friend to work out with me, and she'd do one bicep curl and the next day go, I feel like my arms look too bulky. And I remember reading a post, I think it was, I mean, I'm sure many female athletes have made this post, but recently I saw Steffi Cohen wrote it. And she said something along the lines of like, if you see a woman that you think is like too bulky, or you're going to say like, looks too, whatever, let's just say how people say it, like too masculine, too manly.
Too manly. Yeah.
Yeah. She wants to look that way. That doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with one bicep curl. It doesn't happen with one too many ounces of protein. She wants to look that way. Steffi Cohen wants to look that way and puts in the work to look that way. And I just told my friend, I go, you don't want to have big arms? That's fine. That doesn't mean don't go to the gym and do arms. That's not what that means. It means that
change your perspective of what, yeah.
Yeah, you need to shape your workouts and shape your training and shape your thinking to get your body to look the way you want it to look. But nothing's going to happen overnight, and you are not going to look manly and bulky if you don't want to.
And that's adorable. I love when people, you know, and a lot of women would come into the gym and say, you know, I don't want to get too big. And I'm thinking, you, and without being rude, it was like, you don't have the work ethic to get that big. Like, I don't say that because, you know, I'm understanding their internal dialogue. That's what it is. It's a representation of what they view, what their perspective is, you know. And I think I love being able to have conversations with you about, you know, females in powerlifting. What I liked is how everybody embraced you doing it. They were like, oh, that's awesome. And that's why I liked CrossFit. Especially, you know, our gym, but it was very much whatever goal you set, we all want you to achieve it. And if it was, you know what, I really want to lose weight. Okay, well, guess what? We're going to tell you something. You probably have to eat more. What? You know, like, well, I've been eating 1,200 calories and doing cardio, and I, you know, I've lost weight, but now I don't feel good. Yeah.
Well, and another thing I was reading about yesterday, someone had asked, can not eating enough make you stall in losing weight?
Yes.
Like, yes. It can do so much damage to the point where you might actually gain weight because your body is in starvation mode, and every one of those 1,000 calories you're putting in, it is not metabolizing. It is just going to hold on to it because it is starving. Your body needs this maintenance level just to operate and get you out of bed in the morning. Like, people don't realize how many calories are needed just for our body to perform its basic metabolic functions. And that alone is a conversation that needs to be had with young children. That is what needs to be taught in teen health. Awesome. Put the condoms on the cucumbers. Also talk to me about how much I need to eat to just breathe.
Yes.
Like, that needs to be taught to kids, and it's not. I've taken many like health classes, and we don't talk about the fact that just your heart beating and your lungs expanding takes calories. It takes energy. Food is fuel. And it doesn't just mean fuel to go run a mile or to go lift 100 pounds. It's fuel to function. And kids don't know that. So then they're like, well, I'm not going to eat. And immediately you lose a bunch of weight. Look at me. I went from 160 to 115 and everyone thought it was awesome. And it's like, but if I continued with that, I probably would have lost my menstrual cycle. I probably would have gotten severe depression. I would have then started to gain some weight back without increasing my calories. And it's like, you don't know how detrimental that can be. And like, that is where the dialogue needs to start with kids.
I think it's very smart. That's true.
Yeah.
What was, when you first, if you can remember, when you first did powerlifting, or maybe even just the powerlifting movements, do you remember what your numbers were?
I remember the first time I squatted at CFN. It was the first time I squatted with a barbell. I did box squats. To what were those things that we used for box squats? I remember I bought some for you when we did that.
Yeah, they're 12-inch. They're
There's something for
sprinkler
like
covers. They're sprinkler
sprinkler covers.
covers.
That's what I did into. I did box squats to sprinkler covers, and I did 135. So a plate for a double. And I remember because it was the first lifting video I had ever posted. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" My grandma's like, "You're gonna squat your ovaries out." It was 135. I remember. Do you remember how mental my bench press was at first? It's
Oh
my favorite
yes.
fucking movement now. But oh my god. So I mean, bench was it's a very technical movement more than people realize. Um, I mean, I think probably like 100 pounds was my first ever bench press, and even that maybe more, maybe less. Um, Deadlift, I remember the first deadlift video I ever posted. Deadlift's always been like my strongest lift. I'm short and I have the right leverages for it. But I did like 175 for 5. And I remember that was the first video I posted. And I remember that like a lot of people who were like into lifting already were like, for that being your first time, like that's awesome. First time I pulled sumo, I did 200 for 5. And again, a lot of people were like, your form was shit, but like that's still like awesome.
That says potential, yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. My bench press. Do you remember that? I
Yes.
would I would
Every
rep
time.
every time I would rep out 128. I was just going, I could rep 128. You put 130 on the bar, can't do it. Can't do I had never hit 130 in the gym before my first meet. And then I went into my first meet and hit 143. And we were just kind of like, what the hell? I remember coming back to the gym after that, and, everyone was asking me, how was your competition? And I told Eric that I got 143. And he's like, then what the hell are you struggling with 130 for? He's like, and I was like, watch, I'm going to put 130 on the bar right now, and I'm not going to be able to do it. Like that number just is my, what is that expression? Like the bane of my existence.
Yep.
Like I can't do it.
It's your
Um,
nemesis.
it really is. I don't know what it is about that number. Maybe because at the time that was like a body weight bench for me. Now it's not. I'm heavier now,
But
but
yeah, but what do you bench now?
more than that. I don't know. Last time I tried, I did 160 for like a 3x2. That was pretty easy. I haven't tried to max out in a while,
Okay.
but yeah. So we're making progress. It
And
doesn't
now what's your
scare
and what was your last deadlift that you posted a video of that I was really giggly about?
350. And like when you look at it, and it's like, well, okay, in February at my meet, I got 330, and like I've only put 20 pounds on it in a year. But then like if you look at it as like percentages, like I don't know what percent increase that is, but it's significant. It's significant. And getting into powerlifting, I've been told a lot, which now I'm kind of understanding like it's little milestones. And I'm really good at recognizing that in life, but not in lifting. Like little milestones. Little wins, appreciating the little wins in life.
Well,
It's like
and that's a intentional practice. Like,
mm-hmm.
So I think part of it is too part of the reason why you got more competitive. And yes, you're competitive with others, but not really still. You're much more like me in that I know my numbers. What are my numbers? Like I can do better than
And
that.
I want to beat myself.
I want to beat
Yeah.
myself. And that's another reason why I think you and I got along so well is because it was very much like, yeah, I don't like even in soccer, I would be like, somebody could pass me, I'd be like, man, that was awesome. As they're going to score. My teammates don't like that. Like I'm giving them credit and I'm like, no, dude, I'm recognizing amazing. Like you're good. But one of the things I absolutely liked is the consistency of work it takes to be a state record holder, to be coming from somebody who viewed themselves like self-stated non-athlete, to wait a minute. And I think that's what got you to be more competitive because you know
Yeah.
there's capability, there's potential now. And you're like, maybe I'm starting to believe the hype. Like not fully, not all the time. And so to me that's where athletes that's where athletes, that's what separates them, because they realize, ooh, okay. And competition comes through different ways and different people, but yeah, you are extremely competitive towards yourself, your old numbers, and when you want to compete, like, and I
Yeah.
love it.
And I just think that, like, yeah, like I was saying, I think my biggest thing is learning to appreciate like little milestones. I'm an ABA therapist. My entire job, if I didn't appreciate little milestones that my clients make, I would not see the difference I'm making. So
Explain
I
what
don't
that
need
is,
a
please,
child.
for people. Explain what that is, please.
So I'm a behavioral therapist for children with autism. So we work in little milestones. So I am not going to teach a child to tie their shoes in a day, but I am going to celebrate the crap out of my kid crossing and looping, doing just step one. And we are going to celebrate the crap out of them getting step one for a month as we're working on step two. Now, if I looked at my success as a therapist, and I think I'm good as hell at my job. Like, I'm going to toot my own fucking horn because I am a good therapist. I'm good at what I do. I'm like, I make a difference in kids' lives and I know it. If I based that on my kid being able to tie his shoe the first time I taught him, I would feel like a crap therapist. It is like celebrating little milestones. And I'm not good at doing that in lifting. I'm trying to get better at doing that in like mental health. Like, I have had a shit week, but you know what? Monday I had an okay day. And so that was good. I felt peace on Monday. And I'm going to hold on to that as long as I can and say, you know what? Yeah, it was a crap week overall, but like Monday was okay. So, win. And then maybe next week, Monday and Tuesday will be good. And we're just celebrating those little things. And I'm really damn good at doing it for my clients, really good at doing it for my kids. I'm good at doing it for other people. Like, I don't know, it's helping a friend through a breakup. If she makes a little progress in healing, I am like cheerleader galore for her. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at you. You got out of bed today. You put clean underwear on today. Good for you. But me, it's like I can do 100 things and be like, I did nothing today. I am a waste of space. I did nothing. And like, I'm my own harshest critic. I'm really good at gassing other people up, noticing their milestones. I am working my ass off and trying to do it for myself. That's
and
all we
and
can do.
and that's all you can do is progress. And I,
Yeah.
like I said, I always appreciate the conversations, because one of the things that I've always appreciated as well is you're okay that it's your story and it's your point of view, and it's never, you don't perpetrate like, oh, it's going to be, I'm going to come up with all the answers, and that you share the realness of the mess and the struggle and the, but you're I loved how passionate you were about, why are we not having these conversations younger? Like, and that's part of what we're doing, is we're trying to um, bring normalcy to self-respect and self-acceptance, and being the change we want to see in the world. I mean, Gandhi's been gone a minute, and he's the one that said that. And I'm that's one of the things I'm trying to do. I, for the first time ever, listened to my first video. I'd never listened to my first video almost a year ago, but 11 months ago today. I was like, that was good. Like, whoa, okay, that
Yeah.
was
And
good.
like you said to me before, you are really good at like saying to yourself, like, that's something I really like about myself. And it's like, why can we recognize it in other people and not ourselves? Like, why can we not be our own cheerleaders? Like, I don't know, look in the mirror and like wake up and give yourself like 2 positive affirmations, and it's like, why is that not more encouraged? It's like, and it's not ego. It's not being cocky. It's literally just like, it's self-worth and self-respect. And like, what is wrong with thinking you're awesome? Why can others think you're awesome and why shouldn't you think it of yourself?
And
No.
and thinking you're awesome does not mean thinking you're perfect. It's super different. you know.
And it doesn't mean thinking you're better than anyone else. I read a post the other day that said like someone's growth is not like a reflection on your like you being stalled. Just like when you grow, it's not a reflection on you passing them. It's why compare your chapter to someone else's chapter when it's two totally different books. You
Yeah.
totally different books, and you're comparing the like what he's in chapter 2 and I'm still stuck in my what's called like a prelogue.
Yeah. The
Or
preface.
whatever. English is hard. And it's like you're in a totally different book. So just enjoy yours, read where you're at, and progress through your book and your journey and your life. And help each other. I mean, share your books, share your chapters, but don't compare. And I mean, that's taken me a while to understand. That was my downfall, is like comparisons to others. And then like
Because there's always going to be somebody stronger, faster,
oh
different abs, different like body parts, different everything. Like there's always going to be somebody or something if that's what you focus on.
yeah.
And I like that. I love that. We're in different books, man. Like,
Yeah. You don't put your progress picture next to someone else's. You put it next to a picture of you. It's not here's me and here's Amy. It's here's me 6 months ago and me today. And that's how you do progress pictures. So why wouldn't you do life progress that way too?
I think that's a great question.
Yeah. If there was only an easy answer as to how we stop doing that.
Well, I think more of these, more, more.
Yeah, more people talking about it.
Yep, more people talking about it, because then we have more, like Simon Sinek. It's really funny. Simon Sinek says, there's all these self-help, but what about, group help? And I was like, it's true. And that's why I like group dynamics. That's why I like team building. That's why I like, doing group classes as well, because if you have everybody appreciating the fact that we're reading different, or we're in different books, but that we're all reading,
Yeah.
then it becomes a lot less combative. And like, you look at good teams of any sport that has a team. Good teams are made up of people willing to sacrifice their comfort for others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being a good individual, you're willing to sacrifice your comfort to better your progress.
Yeah.
So but if you're comparing apples to books, you're like, this is just weird. I
Yeah.
love that. Like, no, like, I don't care what chapter they're in. The fact that they're in a book is okay, because I'm in a book too. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'll sit with you while you're reading your book. I'll help you. You have some questions on your book, ask me.
And I think that, like we were saying, having these conversations younger, because we have these conversations when someone begins to struggle. We have the body dysmorphia conversation.
It's reactive.
Yeah, exactly. We're not proactive about it. It's why do we have to wait for that 13-year-old girl to develop an eating disorder before we talk about eating disorders? Why do we have to wait until someone becomes depressed to talk about self-acceptance and little milestones being good? But if we have these conversations earlier, if we instill these ways of thinking into younger people, hopefully, obviously it's not going to work for everyone, but hopefully we will see less eating disorders and depression and anxiety and more just self-acceptance. And I think because at a young age, kids are so impressionable, like if you're around friends who that worked for, like it's going to end up trickling down and working for you. Like if you have a friend who's always encouraging you and building you up and appreciating your little milestones with you, and you do that for them, it's like, that's what's going to make the world of a difference. I had a friend tell me the other day, she's like, I had such a productive day yesterday, and I knew when I went to bed that tomorrow I'm not going to be productive. I was like, it was too good to be true. And she texted me in the morning. She's like, I was totally right. I have barely gotten out of bed today. She sent me a selfie and I said, well, you have a shirt on. So that's like, I said, you got dressed. So that's like 6 points right there. And she said, well, I only put a shirt on. I don't have pants on. And I said, okay, 4 points, but still it's points, like points for you. Fine. You didn't put pants on. I'll take 2 points away. I'm still giving you points though.